was supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life, but instead, my 60th birthday ended with me crying quietly in the bathroom, the words "useless burden" still echoing in my mind. I had spent weeks planning everything: fresh flowers, homemade food, my son Mark's favorite chocolate cake, just like I used to make when he was a boy. My small apartment was full of laughter that evening. Mark, his wife Wendy, our 2 grandkids, and a few close friends. Then came the moment that changed everything. Mark handed me a beautiful travel journal. "Mom, I know you've always dreamed of seeing the world," he said. "Maybe it's time you start." His words touched my heart, especially since I'd quietly given up my dreams years ago to help his family. After my husband Harold passed, I sold our home and used the money to help Mark buy his. And ever since, I'd been secretly covering their $2,300 monthly mortgage from the account Harold left me. So when I smiled and said maybe I'd take the grandkids to the Grand Canyon this summer, I didn't expect Wendy's sharp reply. "Don't be silly, Anna. The kids need real supervision, not babysitting from someone who can barely take care of herself." The room went silent. I waited for Mark to say something, anything, but he just looked down. I felt my cheeks burn as Wendy went on, her tone sweet but her words cutting like glass. "You really should stop inserting yourself into everything. You're becoming a burden." That was the moment something inside me broke. I forced a smile, muttered something about cake, and escaped to the kitchen. The laughter was gone. My friends left early, my son mumbled a goodbye, and Wendy didn't even glance my way. That night, sitting on the edge of my bathtub, I finally saw things clearly. For years, I'd been paying for their home, their comfort, their peace, and yet I was the one called a burden. I wiped my tears, looked in the mirror, and heard my late mother's voice. "Never let them see they've hurt you." The next morning, I made my decision. With trembling hands, I called the bank and froze the mortgage account. "Are you sure, Mrs. Collins?" the representative asked. "Yes," I said firmly. "It's time for a change." For the first time in years, I felt something I hadn't felt since Harold died: self-respect. As I sat in my kitchen later that morning, tea growing cold beside me, I realized Wendy's cruel words had done something unexpected. They'd woken me up, because I finally understood. Sometimes losing the people who don't value you is the first step toward finding yourself again. Every time I brought cookies for my grandkids, Wendy would meet me at the door. "The kids just had sugar," she'd say with a polite smile that didn't reach her eyes, taking the container before closing the door. I'd barely get a glimpse of my grandchildren. Later, Mark would call when she wasn't around, thanking me softly, as if my love for them had to stay a secret. After Harold's passing 5 years ago, Wendy's control over the family tightened. During those dark days, when all I wanted was to be surrounded by loved ones, she claimed my grief was too heavy for the kids. She decided I could only see them once they were ready. Then came their financial trouble. Mark's contracting business was falling apart, and they were at risk of losing their home. "It's embarrassing," Mark admitted one night, voice trembling. "I don't know how to tell the kids we might have to move into an apartment." To me, the solution was simple. "Sell our house," I told him. "Use the money for a down payment. I'll move into something smaller." My friends thought I'd lost my mind. "That house is your safety, Anna," my friend Patricia warned. But I couldn't watch my son's family fall apart, so I sold the home Harold and I had built together. My share gave Mark and Wendy enough for a down payment on a beautiful suburban house. I moved into a small apartment and told myself it was cozy, not lonely. What I never told anyone, not even Patricia, was that I kept helping them. Every month, money from Harold's insurance quietly paid their mortgage. "Just until you get back on your feet," I told Mark. That was 4 years ago. As I sat at my kitchen table now, memories flooded back. The missed invitations, the holidays spent alone, the photos of events I hadn't even known about, the Christmas when my gifts for the kids got lost, the vacation to Florida I only heard about when they returned, and the recital where my seat was mysteriously forgotten. My phone rang. Patricia. "Anna, are you okay?" I've been worried sick after what happened last night." "I'm fine," I said automatically. "No, you're not," she snapped. "What Wendy said was cruel, and Mark just sat there. I wanted to shake him." "He's caught in the middle," I muttered, like I always did, still defending him. "Has he called to apologize?" Patricia asked. Silence. "Anna, we need to talk. Really talk. About everything you've been doing for them." My throat tightened. "What do you mean?" "I'm not blind. You sold your home to bail them out. You live in that tiny apartment while they're in a mini mansion, and I suspect that's not all." Her words cracked something open inside me. For years I had kept it all hidden. The mortgage payments, the credit card bills I quietly cleared, even the grandkids' school fees. Patricia sighed. "Oh, Anna, you've been their personal bank while she treats you like an inconvenience?" "I just wanted to help," I whispered. "Help is one thing, being used is another." She was right. For years I had mistaken sacrifice for love. I believed being needed was the same as being valued. I thought about the account I'd frozen that morning, the first boundary I'd set in years, but I knew there would be fallout. Moments later, my phone buzzed. It was Mark. "Mom, is everything okay with the bank? Got a weird call about the mortgage payment." It had begun. The moment I'd been avoiding for years. I stared at the screen, torn between guilt and resolve. For so long, I'd put everyone's comfort above my own. My first instinct was to fix it, to unfreeze the account. But then, I heard Harold's voice in my mind, calm, steady, loving. "You deserve better, Anna." Instead of replying to Mark, I called Richard, our longtime financial advisor. If I was going to stand up for myself, I needed to know where I truly stood. "Anna," he said kindly when I arrived at his office. "It's been too long. How have you been?" I told him everything, the house sale, the mortgage payments, Wendy's behavior, all of it. When he removed his glasses and sighed, I knew the number would be bad. "Anna, do you realize how much you've given them in the past 5 years?" When he showed me the total, my breath caught. Nearly $450,000. Money Harold and I had saved for our retirement, our trips, our future. "Legally," Richard explained gently, "you've done nothing wrong. You can stop those payments. You were never obligated. If you stop now, you'll still have enough to live comfortably. Maybe not the grand vacations you planned, but certainly peace of mind." He paused, meeting my eyes. "Anna, Harold would want you to take care of yourself now." I left his office that day feeling lighter than I had in years, because for the first time, I was finally doing something for me. As I left Richard's office that afternoon, a strange mix of guilt and freedom washed over me. For the first time in years, I was putting myself first, and it felt both terrifying and absolutely necessary. That evening, Patricia called. "Come have dinner with us, Anna. The girls from the old neighborhood are getting together." I hesitated. For years, Wendy had slowly pulled me away from social gatherings, always with some excuse that I was too tired, too busy, too emotional. But something inside me told me to go. The restaurant was cozy and full of laughter. The moment I walked in, I saw familiar faces: Susan, Jean, and Margaret, women who had been my support system for decades. "Anna, we've missed you," Susan said, hugging me tightly. "We tried calling so many times," Jean added, "but Wendy usually answered and said you weren't feeling well." I nearly choked on my water. "What? I never got any messages." They exchanged uneasy looks. "We suspected as much," Margaret said softly. "You seemed different the last few times we saw you, quieter, like something was wrong." As the evening went on, I learned the painful truth. Wendy hadn't just limited my time with family, she'd been quietly cutting me off from my friends, intercepting calls, turning down invitations, even spreading whispers that I'd become difficult after Harold's passing. And all that time, I'd been the one paying for her comfort. Patricia reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "You're not alone, Anna. You have us. Always." For the first time since freezing that account, I felt genuine confidence. These women saw me for who I was, not a burden, but a friend worth having. My phone buzzed over and over throughout dinner. 3 calls from Mark, 2 from Wendy. I silenced it. Whatever this was, it could wait. When I got home later that night, there were 6 voicemails. The first was from Mark. "Mom, please call me back. Something's wrong with the bank account." The second was sharper. "Mom, seriously, we need to talk. Wendy's really upset." The third was Wendy. Her tone was sugar-coated but tense. "Anna, dear, there seems to be a mix-up with the bank. Please call us immediately." By the 6th message, the sweetness was gone. "If you think you can just stop supporting us without consequences, you're more—" She caught herself, then hissed, "Call us back, now." I deleted every message and turned off my phone. For the first time in years, I slept soundly. The next morning, I woke up to sunlight streaming through the window. I brewed my coffee, opened the curtains, and felt peace. Real peace. Then I called my lawyer. "I need to confirm where I stand," I said, "and I want to update my will." By noon, I had everything in writing. My rights, my finances, my new plans. When I turned my phone back on, there were 15 missed calls and 1 final text from Mark. "We're coming over. Be there in 20. I looked at Harold's photo on the mantel and whispered, "Wish me strength, love." The doorbell rang. When I opened the door, Wendy stood there, her face flushed with anger, makeup cracking under the tension. Mark stood slightly behind her, eyes down, like a man torn in half. "What do you think you're doing?" Wendy snapped, storming past me into my living room. I closed the door calmly. "Hello to you too, Wendy. Mark?" "Mom?" Mark began uncertainly. "There's been a mistake with the bank account. The mortgage payment didn't go through." "It's not a mistake," I said quietly. "I froze the account." The silence that followed was heavy. Wendy's jaw dropped while Mark looked utterly lost. "What account?" he asked finally. "What mortgage payment?" And in that instant, I realized the truth. Mark had never known. All these years, he had no idea that I'd been paying their mortgage. Wendy recovered first. "Your mother's just confused," she said quickly. "She doesn't know what she's talking about." "I'm not confused, Wendy," I said firmly. My voice didn't shake this time. "For 4 years, I've been paying your mortgage. Every month, $300 from my account to yours." Mark turned to his wife, his expression shifting from confusion to disbelief. "Is that true?" "Of course not," Wendy said too quickly. Her eyes darted away. She must be mistaken. Without a word, I walked to my desk and pulled out a folder, neatly prepared that morning with the help of my lawyer. I handed it to Mark. "See for yourself." He sat on the sofa, flipping through the pages, each one proof of the quiet sacrifices I'd made, transfer after transfer, every month, year after year, property taxes, home repairs, school fees, all from me. Mark looked up slowly, his face pale. "Wendy?" he whispered. "Did you know about this?" Mark's voice was low, almost disbelieving. Wendy didn't even hesitate. "Of course I knew," she said, flipping her hair like nothing was wrong. "Your mother offered to help when your business was struggling. It was her idea." "To help temporarily," I clarified, "not forever, and certainly not while being treated like an unwanted guest in my own family." "That's not fair," Wendy snapped, but her voice trembled. "Not fair?" I repeated, years of silence cracking open inside me. What's not fair is being called a burden by someone whose lifestyle I've quietly supported for years. Mark's face turned pale as he stared at the papers in his hands. "Mom?" "I had no idea. I thought the account was just for emergencies. I didn't know you were paying our mortgage." "How could you not know?" I asked softly. "Wendy handles everything," he said, turning toward her. "You told me we were doing fine." Her tone shifted instantly. Tears appeared on cue. "I was just trying to protect you from stress," she said, reaching for his hand. You were working so hard, and your mom wanted to help. I didn't think the details mattered. The manipulation was so smooth it was almost impressive. Almost. But Mark wasn't buying it anymore. The details? He repeated, his voice rising. My mother's been covering our entire lifestyle, and you didn't think that was worth mentioning? He glanced at me, eyes full of guilt. And all this time, we treated you like someone who doesn't matter, I finished quietly. That's not true, Wendy cried, the tears returning. I've always respected Anna. Calling someone a burden at her own birthday party is an interesting form of respect, I said, my voice steady now. Mark ran a hand through his hair, pacing the room. I can't believe this. All those times you said Mom was too tired to come over, or that she canceled plans, was any of that true? Wendy didn't answer. She didn't have to. And the grandparents' day at school, Mark continued, realization dawning. Mom asked me why Emma didn't invite her. You said Mom declined because she wasn't feeling well. A lump formed in my throat. I never got an invitation. Silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. For the first time, Mark saw the truth. We'll fix this, he said finally, voice breaking. We'll pay you back, Mom, and things will change. I promise. It's not about money, Mark, I said gently. It's about respect, and being valued for more than my bank account. I know, he whispered. I'm so sorry. Wendy's tears stopped as quickly as they'd started. This is ridiculous, she snapped. You're both overreacting. So I said one thing at a party. Does that erase everything I've done? Mark turned to her, voice calm but cold. What exactly have you done, Wendy? Besides spend my mother's money and keep her away from her grandkids? The look she gave me could have cut glass. You'll regret this, she hissed. Both of you. Then she grabbed her purse and stormed out, slamming the door so hard the picture frames rattled. Mark and I stood in silence for a long moment. I don't even know what to say, he finally murmured. I've been so blind. We both have, I said softly. But now at least we can see. As he left to deal with Wendy, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. The kind that feels fragile but alive, like the first sunlight after a long storm. The next week was eerily quiet. No calls, no visits, no drama, just silence. I told myself that was good, that everyone needed time to process, but deep down, I knew it wasn't over. On Thursday afternoon, the doorbell rang. When I opened it, I froze. There stood my 16-year-old granddaughter, Emma, her eyes red, backpack hanging from one shoulder. Emma, sweetheart, what's wrong? She burst into tears and threw her arms around me. Everything's awful, Grandma. Mom and Dad won't stop fighting. I pulled her inside and made her a cup of hot chocolate the same way I used to when she was little. Slowly, the words spilled out between sobs. Mom keeps saying you turned Dad against her, that you're trying to break up our family. I knelt beside her, brushing her hair from her face. No, honey, that's not true. I just couldn't keep pretending everything was okay when it wasn't. Emma looked down at her mug, thinking. I always wondered why you stopped coming around, she said quietly. Mom always had some reason, but it never made sense. My chest tightened. I thought of the birthdays I'd missed, the recitals, the ordinary afternoons that should have been ours. I wanted to be there, I said softly. More than you know. She reached for my hand. I'm really glad you are now. And in that moment, I realized maybe losing Wendy wasn't a loss at all. Maybe it was finally the start of getting my family back. More than anything, Emma whispered. I know. Her voice was steady, wiser than her 16 years. Then she surprised me. Dad told us everything, Grandma, about how you helped all these years and about what Mom said at your birthday. She looked down, guilt flickering across her face. I should have said something that night. I'm sorry. I squeezed her hand gently. You're 16, sweetheart. None of this was your responsibility. But Emma wasn't finished. Her tone hardened, her jaw set. Mom's been saying terrible things about you, to everyone. Aunt Sarah, the neighbors, even my friends' parents. That's why I came. I couldn't listen to it anymore. My heart ached for her, for all of them. She doesn't even know I'm here, Emma added quietly. Just then my phone rang. It was Mark. His voice was frantic. Mom, is Emma with you? She didn't come home from school. She's here, I said softly. She's safe. I could hear his sigh of relief through the phone. Thank God. Mom, Wendy's filing for divorce. For a moment I said nothing. I should have seen it coming, but somehow I hadn't. I'm sorry, Mark, I said. Don't be, he replied, his tone steadier than I'd heard in years. It's been a long time coming. I just couldn't see it until now. After we hung up, Emma and I spent the evening going through old photo albums, snapshots of family moments Wendy had tried to erase. I showed her pictures of Mark as a boy, told her stories about her grandfather Harold, how he used to hum while fixing the car, how he once drove all night just to surprise us with breakfast by the ocean. For the first time in years, the apartment felt full of life again. Around 8, Mark arrived. He looked exhausted, but lighter, like a man who'd finally stopped carrying a secret. When Emma went to the bathroom, he turned to me, voice low. Mom, Wendy's been lying to everyone, telling people you're losing your mind, that you're trying to control us with money. He rubbed his temples. And the worst part is, some people believe her. I swallowed hard. And you, Mark? What do you believe? He looked up, eyes shining. I see everything clearly now. I let her come between us. I let her isolate you. I'm so sorry, Mom. His apology hit me like sunlight after years of rain. The wounds were deep, but healing had finally begun. 2 days later, there was another knock at my door. It was my grandson, Tyler, 14, awkward, kind. Dad said I could come, he said shyly. Is that okay? I smiled and opened my arms. It's more than okay. He was quieter than Emma, but I could see the relief in his eyes, the peace of being somewhere calm, without shouting, without tension. Their visit soon became a routine, my apartment turning into a safe haven. But outside our little bubble, Wendy was stirring up trouble. One evening, Patricia called, her voice tight. Anna, I don't know how to tell you this, but Wendy's been spreading rumors, saying you cut them off to manipulate Mark into leaving her. I sighed. I figured she might. Some people believe her, Patricia admitted, but others are starting to see the truth, especially after what happened at the school fundraiser. What happened? I asked, my pulse quickening. She made a scene, Patricia said, accused you, publicly, of trying to steal her children. My stomach sank. But then, Patricia continued, a smile in her voice, Emma stood up in front of everyone and told the real story, what Wendy said to you at your birthday, every word. For a moment I couldn't speak. The tears came quietly, not from sadness but from pride. That night Mark called. His voice was weary but resolute. Wendy's demanding the house and the divorce, he said, the one you helped us buy. What will you do? I asked. Fight, he said simply. Not just for the house, for the kids. I've let her control our lives for too long. And he meant it. The next day I got a call that surprised me more than anything else. Anna? A familiar voice said on the line. It's Eleanor, Wendy's mother. We'd never been close. She lived in Arizona and rarely visited. I owe you an apology, she said. I knew Wendy could be difficult, but I had no idea what she was doing to you. My throat tightened. How did you find out? Mark called me, she said gently. He wanted me to hear the truth before Wendy's version reached me. Anna, I'm truly sorry. I raised her better than this. By the end of the month, the battle lines were drawn. On my side, Mark, the kids, my friends, and surprisingly, Eleanor. On Wendy's, a few who still believed her stories, or were too afraid not to. When May turned to June, I received something that made my heart stop for a moment. An envelope. Inside, a handwritten card from Emma. I really want you at my dance recital, Grandma. Front row. Where you belong. I pressed the card to my chest, tears blurring the words. Whatever storms had passed, this moment made it all worth it. A year later, the dust finally settled. The divorce was finalized that November, quicker than anyone expected. Wendy, eager to play the victim, accepted a settlement that gave Mark primary custody of the kids and ownership of the house, provided he bought out her share. I don't know how I'll manage the payments, Mark admitted one evening as we sat on my balcony, watching the sunset. You'll figure it out, I said. The children need stability. What I didn't tell him was that I'd already spoken to Richard, my financial advisor. The money I'd saved over the past year had grown, enough to help if needed, this time through a proper documented loan. No more secret accounts, no more quiet sacrifices. But Mark surprised me. I've taken on extra projects, he said, smiling faintly. And without Wendy's spending, I can actually make it work. I want to do this on my own, Mom. I looked at him, pride swelling in my chest. For the first time in years, my son wasn't just surviving. He was standing tall, and doing it with integrity. As the last rays of sunlight faded behind the horizon, I felt Harold's presence beside me, gentle, approving. I whispered to the quiet evening air, "We're okay now, love. We finally made it." And for the first time in a long, long while, I truly believed it. I felt a surge of pride as I looked at my son. He was rebuilding his life, his confidence, his dignity, one step at a time. "I know you can do it," I told him, "but I'm here if you ever need me." Emma and Tyler flourished once the tension at home finally lifted. Emma threw herself into dance with renewed passion, her performances glowing with joy. Tyler discovered photography, capturing the quiet beauty in ordinary moments most people overlooked. They visited me often now, laughing freely, never sneaking around or making excuses. Wendy, on the other hand, moved to Chicago, claiming that our town had become too toxic after what we'd supposedly done to her. She called the kids occasionally, but her interest faded once she realized they wouldn't turn against their father, or me. By spring, her calls came once a month. Then, not at all. One Saturday, as Tyler and I worked side by side in the community garden, he asked quietly, "Grandma, are you sad about Mom?" "Sad that she left?" I asked, pressing a small tomato seedling into the soil. He nodded. "I'm sad about what could have been," I said honestly. "I wish things had turned out differently, but I'm not sad about setting boundaries." Tyler thought about that for a long moment, then said softly, "Dad says you taught him what real strength looks like." I blinked back sudden tears. "Your dad is teaching me a few things about strength, too." With the money I'd been saving every month, I finally began planning the trip I'd dreamed of for years, the Grand Canyon. Mark insisted on helping with the arrangements. "You've spent your whole life helping everyone else, Mom," he said. "Let me do this for you." The trip was set for late September, after the summer crowds, before the chill of autumn. As the date approached, I felt a childlike excitement bubbling up inside me. I bought a new camera, comfortable hiking shoes, and the perfect sun hat for the Arizona heat. A week before my departure, the doorbell rang. Emma and Tyler stood there, grinning from ear to ear, holding a large wrapped package. "What's this?" I asked as they hurried inside. "An early birthday present," Emma announced proudly. "You'll be away for your birthday this year." Carefully, I unwrapped the gift. Inside was a beautiful leather-bound travel journal, similar to the one Mark had given me the year before, but this one was already half full. "Open it!" Tyler urged, practically bouncing with excitement. Inside were handwritten notes, photos and maps, all gathered by my grandchildren and friends, pages filled with stories and travel ideas. Paris, the Maine coastline, the lavender fields of Provence. "It's a road map," Emma explained, her eyes shining. "For all the adventures you're still going to take. And we want you to write about every trip," Tyler added, "so we can read them when you get back." I held the journal against my heart, overwhelmed by the love and thought behind it. It wasn't just a gift. It was a message. They believed in me. They knew my story wasn't over. The day before my flight, Mark hosted a small gathering at his home, finally free of Wendy's shadow. Patricia was there, along with Susan, Jean, Margaret, and a few new friends from the garden. Mark raised his glass. "To my mother," he said proudly. "Anna Collins, the strongest woman I know." "To Anna," everyone echoed, their glasses clinking in unison. As I looked around the room, my son, my grandchildren, my friends, I felt a deep, unshakable peace. I raised my glass too. "To second chances," I said softly, "and to new beginnings." Later, when the guests had gone, I found myself alone in the kitchen with Mark. He was washing dishes, refusing to let me help. "You know," he said thoughtfully, "when you froze that account last year, I was shocked. But looking back, it was the best thing that could have happened to us." I smiled. Sometimes the hardest decisions lead to the greatest freedom. He nodded. "I just wish I'd seen the truth sooner." "We see things when we're ready," I said gently, "not a moment before." The next morning, as I boarded the plane for the first adventure of my new life, I thought about everything that had led me here. One cruel comment at a birthday party, one bold decision to take back my power, one long journey toward peace. This wasn't the bitter freedom of someone walking away in anger. It was the calm, liberating kind, the freedom of a woman who finally understood her own worth. As the plane lifted into the sky, I opened my new travel journal to the first blank page and began to write, "Today, I am exactly where I'm supposed to be." I was no longer anyone's burden. I was simply Anna, mother, grandmother, friend, and at long last, the heroine of my own story. And now, I'm curious about you. What would you have done in Anna's place? Have you ever had to stand up for yourself after years of being taken for granted? Tell me your story in the comments. I read every single one. And before you go, stay with me. I'm leaving 2 other powerful stories on the screen right now, both true channel favorites that will absolutely surprise you. Thank you for watching until the end. And remember, sometimes taking back your peace is the most beautiful revenge of all.